it was dark. It was a dark time. I felt like I have all of this knowledge and I can't get out of this. I was seeing the best doctors. I was very ill for a very long time. All of the diagnoses racked up. Started with anxiety, and then it went into the Lyme, the mold, thyroid issues, all of those kind of things. And after 10 years, it was like, why is my body, it felt like a curse. Felt like a 95-year-old, very sick woman. How do I fit in? I don't even feel like a human, actually. Like, what am I? Why does my body do this? How do I live with this? How do I live my best life with this? It's a whole different approach. It's like playing jujitsu with the illness. I was no longer trying to fight it and get rid of it. I changed my approach, and in that approach of choosing to live with it, a wisdom started to come online.
Wow. I'm so speechless because it just hits so close to home. And I've had such similar realizations. This is already one of my favorite conversations ever on this podcast, and we've had a lot. So what do we do? What do we do from here? What did you do once that wisdom came up to actually make a change?
Yeah.
So Dr. Kat, welcome. I'm so honored and so thankful to have you here today. I feel like looking into your eyes is already like such a portal, kind of. You're just this powerhouse of healing for so many people and such a pillar. And I didn't really expect it because I have obviously never met you in person, but you have this really healing energy, like healer type of energy, where when I'm looking in your eyes, and I have this gift where I can see people's faces shape shift. So I'm seeing your face shape shift and it's beautiful. So thank you so much for being here.
Wow. Thank you, Jordan. I'm so honored to get to sit with you today.
It's exciting. So you are the founder and creator of Primal Trust. Tell everybody listening what that is and how you got started with it.
Yeah, well, Primal Trust, it's an online platform, a membership, a community where people learn about their nervous system, they learn about trauma, and they learn about what might be the underlying cause of their chronic illness or chronic anxiety or burnout. And we take them through a journey where they learn the art of nervous system regulation. Then they learn about the trauma patterns, the emotional patterns that were underneath the nervous system dysregulation. And they learn how to find that true self access. They learn how to repair what was lost. They learn how to do something, it's often called inner attachment repair, where commonly called parts work. That's more of a later journey. And ultimately, how to come back into the world after going into the underworld of chronic illness and trauma and emerge their higher and best version of themselves, bringing forward the gifts, the learning, the resonance back into the world so they can help others do the same.
Wow. And this was born from your journey, correct?
Yes.
With chronic illnesses. Did you also have, and forgive me for not knowing this, because I like to kind of just come into conversations and learn about the person. Did you have a history also in like therapy or trauma work or anything, or was it really the chronic illness journey that opened your eyes to all of this?
Good question. So I do have a doctoral degree in physical therapy, and I went on to specialize in mind-body related illnesses like chronic pain and severe autoimmune things that affect the spine. So I had an understanding of the body, of neurology, of neuroplasticity, and I always had an interest in the mind-body approach of Dr. John Sarno.
He's amazing.
He is amazing. And so that was the lens that I approached my career from. And then I got very sick. And then I spent over a decade getting another, I'll call it doctoral level education in healing chronic illness and trauma.
Well, there's no one I trust more.
Yes.
So by the way, when I ask the question, like, what's your background? It's not from the place of like thinking that that's even necessary sometimes for someone to be able to be extremely knowledgeable about healing. It's just out of curiosity.
Yeah. But it really helped to inform me to be able to teach both the science, the method, and the mystery of how we recover, because it really is a method and a mystery. Both need to be there. The structure, the process, the curriculum, and the nuances, the intangible. Both of those things are part of the healing journey, and I was fortunate enough to learn both so that I could teach both.
Wow, that's amazing. So what did your sickness journey look like? Did it come out of nowhere? I mean,
I was highly functioning. Started off traveling and I got sick, and within a few weeks I was severely ill, hospitalized in South America, thinking I was not going to make it. I was medically escorted back to the States, and my system never fully recovered. I did start working again for a while, but I wasn't right. And then I had some other type of weird infection, and that really tipped the scale, and I went into full-on bedbound. And I was mostly housebound / bedbound for about 10 years. So I was very ill for a very long time, and all of the diagnoses racked up. It started with anxiety and stomach ulcer type stuff, and then it went into the Lyme, the mold, the dysautonomia, the thyroid issues, all of those kind of things. And it was dark. It was a dark time. I felt like I have all of this knowledge and I can't get out of this. I was seeing the best doctors. We spent everything we had. And after 10 years, it was like, why is nothing working? Like, why is my body, it felt like a curse. Like, how can I be this sick? And there they are, my family members who smoke and drink, and they're fine. And I felt like a 95-year-old, very sick woman. And, you feel so ostracized. Like, how do I fit in? I don't even feel like a human, actually. Like, exactly. What am I? Why does my body do this?
Yes.
And I didn't understand why these smart doctors couldn't figure this out. Every time I had a diagnosis, it was a new hope, and it would work for a little while, and then I got nowhere. And then eventually I was like, this is not my way out. It's not going to be from a doctor, from a pill, from a protocol, from a diet. I wished it was. I did everything. But you have to look at, is any of this working? And if it's not, that means there's a different path that you haven't taken. And eventually I had to realize I have to let all of that go. And I just started deciding to live with the illness and deal with my life. I had 2 small children. I wasn't even able to raise them. I was living in a dark, quiet room. They had a nanny because I couldn't handle sound or light. And I said, you know what? I've got to learn how to live with this. They're going to lose out on having a mother. I didn't have a mother, really. And I wasn't going to repeat that. And so that was a turning point. And that led me to ask different questions. Well, how do I live with this? How do I live my best life with this? And that's a whole different approach. It's like playing jujitsu with the illness, because I was no longer trying to fight it and get rid of it. I changed my approach, and in that approach of choosing to live with it, a wisdom started to come online, a deep wisdom, a deep knowing that what I was missing all along was my own nervous system, my own internal trauma healing that was creating a storm inside of me for infections and toxins to flourish. And it wasn't about killing anything. It was about calming an alarm deep inside of me that had been going off since I was born. And that was the turning point for me.
Wow. I'm so speechless because it just hits so close to home. And I've had such similar realizations, but I also consider myself still to be on the path of healing. So I feel emotional hearing you talk about it, because I feel like I know all these things, and I am a mom of 2 little kids, and I do not have the energy to be the mom that I want to be, although I've come so far. So there's so much work to still be done, but it's just like, I see you, I feel you so deeply. So thank you. So what do we do? What do we do from here? What did you do once that wisdom came up to actually make a change?
The most important thing, especially if you're a mom listening, we have this deep guilt that starts to pile up because we can't show up in the way that our heart wants to. And the problem with that guilt is it's going to make this alarm that's going on in the system 10 times more. There's a lot of research linking guilt with certain like interleukin-6 and other types of highly inflammatory compounds. And so it's the inflammation that's keeping the illness, and the guilt that starts driving it. So that's, guilt, fear, things like that. So first of all, you've got to find a way where you show up and you go to bed feeling a sense of respect for yourself. And how can you show up? For me, I was like, okay, I need to find out how to live a life I value when I can't hardly do anything, can hardly shower without just being exhausted. And my values were nature, and my values were adventure, And so I laid in the grass with my kids, and I would literally just let them tickle me so I could laugh, and they could see their mother laugh. I would make little scavenger hunts for them for adventure, and like let them discover things and, you know, run around and look for things, and just feel like I gave them an adventure even though I couldn't do a lot. And just being outside, and we would lay down in the grass, and I'd point out the bumblebees and the lavender with them, and I just found a way that I could connect that filled me, which was nature and, you know, just whatever the values are. And I would go to bed being like, I lived today. I really lived, and I showed up, and I may have had a ton of discomfort, but I gave them the gift that is what my heart needs. And that really started to turn around my own internal stress response and inflammatory response. Of course, I started adding some nervous system work and other types of practices as well. But honestly, those are not as important as stopping the train of guilt and fear and resistance, and going in a different direction of I'm living my values, and I respect how I'm living even in this condition, and I'm showing up for my kids in a way that matters to them.
That makes a ton of sense. It's so true. There's so much emotion wrapped into it, the emotional root of chronic illness. And then also to bring it back to what you said before, how you were kind of born with this nervous system that was alarmed. How does that happen? How are we born that way? Do you feel like this is like a lineage thing, or in the DNA, or all of the above, spiritual thing?
Yeah. You know, I really do feel that we choose our adventure a little bit, and that we choose a setup to help our soul grow in a way that it's aching for. And I had several experiences, very sacred experiences in my healing journey, that helped me to know that everything I was experiencing was very precious to my soul, to my higher self, to a deep connection, that the yearning for freedom, the suffering that I went through, the self-compassion I had to develop to heal, was a massive initiation for me, and something that no one in my lineage ever developed. So I think that, yes, I was born into a very volatile, traumatic situation, and the alarm bells were there from the beginning. I didn't get to experience what it's like to have secure attachment, or any attachment. I didn't know what it's like to have my needs met. I didn't know what it's like to have a consistent roof over my head, or a father. I didn't learn those things, and that was something that I feel like deep down I got asked to learn how to cultivate within myself, a container of self-regulation, a stability that my consciousness wanted to learn how to carve out of nothing. And I think that if I look at my lineage, nobody in my family line was doing the work of awakening, of deep spiritual alignment, of true self-discovery, of self-regulation, of attuning to needs. And so I chose to find a way to learn how to do all of that. And I actually believe that it doesn't only affect my posterity, I believe that it affects my ancestry. I believe
that was my next question. Was I've heard of the theory of the 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. I was going to say, do you believe in that? Because I deeply believe in that. Yeah. And I've had some sacred experiences with my ancestors as well, where I feel myself healing them. And how some of us, often those of us who are sick, who are sensitive or healed because we're not sick anymore, but came here and experienced sickness, we're the pattern breakers.
Yes. I think it's a very sacred calling, and these infections, we partner with them to pull up the shadow that was never felt, heard, seen, witnessed, loved, allowed, and healed. It literally, like that tick bite, whatever it was, it crossed my boundaries. It went into my body, and it pulled the shadow up to be seen and felt, the shadow that my mother never could feel, or my grandmother, all of the, the feminine boundary crossing that had happened in very violent ways that caused them to shut down. My body was also violated in different ways, and that tick bite may have violated the body, but it pulled so much shadow to be loved and healed. And then I no longer became resonant for that infection. And I believe I've seen changes in my mom that she never did any work with that changed her, and my sister and other family members. And so, I mean, this is super, like, this is part of the mystery. I said there's a method and a mystery to me. This is the mystery that I don't get to talk about very much, because it is so sacred and it is so real. And you get to this point in this journey where the work that you need to do to heal, which is deep alignment work, it's neuroplasticity, it's self-regulation, becomes so sacred, because you start to uncover these hidden wounds that you get to attend and heal and find an alignment that it's almost magic. It's beautiful. It's divine moments that bring you to tears, because you were driven there through suffering to meet some wounding that got brought up, and as you meet it with your heart, becomes the most sacred thing. And you would have never met this shadow, this wound, had the boundary crossing of the tick bite or whatever not happened. You would be living a life of complete, maybe okayness, but it doesn't have the depth of self-compassion, of understanding, of forgiveness, of allowance that would have ever been cultivated had that forbidden bite not happen. It's interesting. I spent 10 years resisting that this had happened until I realized that this was an awakening for me. It was opening. We talked about this prior to the podcast. This Lyme infection and mold and all of the things creates so much inflammation in the brain that it causes a type of awakening of the secrets, where typically people do a lot of meditation or plant medicine, etc., to open up the trap door of their unconscious, to purge what has been in there, to then be able to have the space for illumination. Lyme also opens up that trap door through the inflammation of the brain. We're now deep in our limbic system, deep in our inner psyche. All of that shadow is absolutely there to purge through us, much like a plant medicine journey. And with that purge and alignment with the sacred, with the love that is within us and all around us, is accessible. It's accessing both hell and heaven. And I think that some of us literally say, okay, choose me. I will go. I will do. I will be. I will love.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Oh my God. My mind is in like so many different places right now because
I
of
ranted.
how, no, I mean, in a good way, the best way, because I like relate to what you said on like every layer and level. And I'm so happy that we're talking about it, and you put words to everything that I believe so eloquently. So this is already one of my favorite conversations ever on this podcast. And we've had a lot because I just agree. And it's just such a nuanced conversation, which every time that I've ever said this, Lyme is a gift. There's this, horrible meme-like clip that goes around of me on the internet saying Lyme is a gift with no context.
Yeah.
And so much of the Lyme world is like, who is this girl? Oh my God, how annoying is she? And even doctors would call me out all over their Twitter, which got this picked up by CNN and, horrible things. And when I myself was like postpartum within days of having my son, like just such initiations.
Yes.
And I don't say this to be like, oh, poor me. I say it because when I say that Lyme is a gift, I mean every challenging thing that comes into our path, whether it be Lyme or cancer or trauma or this childhood that you described that was your childhood, which sounds traumatic. All of these things, they can be a blessing. Everything can be a blessing. Why else are we here? Like, I see everything on a soul level. And I'm talking about everything on a soul level. Because if it wasn't mysterious and magical and soul level, you wouldn't be healing your mom by doing work that she's not doing. Yeah. But it's on a soul level. And it's just so beyond our comprehension. So I always ask people, just open your mind to what's beyond your comprehension. Because, yeah, you could live as a prisoner of your illness, as you did, as I did, for years. Or you can break free.
Yeah. I so appreciate having this space to even speak to this level. I don't get to do it very often. And also, when I do, there's backlash. But the more that I watch people heal and experience what you and I are talking about, the more that I'm willing to take the backlash. Because
Me too.
those that are ready will hear. And if this is triggering, look, I took a 10-year journey before I was willing to go in this direction.
Totally.
That 10-year journey was not a waste. I learned a lot of beautiful lessons. And, you know, we all have our perfect trajectory and our perfect timing. And it's also not everybody's path. There are people who heal without doing the kind of work you and I are talking about, from Lyme, from mold, from all the things, through other methods. It's possible to heal from many methods because the soul has a lot of different options for how it heals. And so our path that we're describing, it's not the only one. And I'm glad I got to take it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know. I think that's the thing that so many people miss in this conversation is just because we healed this way doesn't mean that we're telling everyone out there you can't heal in a different way.
Right.
We believe, I mean, I don't want to start speaking for you. I believe, and I bet you do too, that there are so many paths to healing.
Yeah.
And if you believe something's going to work for you and can work for you, that's the first step. I think that there were medications that helped me heal. I think there were treatments, there were plant medicine journeys, there were brain retraining experiences that helped me heal. But if I went into it with fear or this nervous system tension of like, this is never going to work for me, I don't trust this, it's not going to work.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we understand the science of the placebo effect.
Yeah, I've had so many placebos, I'm sure.
It's the most important thing. You know, I think that those of us on this path that we're talking about also have a mission to help the masses and help people through trauma and help people have meaning for their suffering. And, you know, I think my path wasn't meant to be easy with a handful of herbs and a good diet, because I wouldn't have been able to help thousands of people with all sorts of different variations.
Exactly.
So
yeah, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
I know we need to get into that. Like, you started Primal Trust, and this is no sort of like sponsored episode, you guys. I need everybody to know that this is a conversation I sought out. I was like, are you ever going to come to LA? When can we make this happen?
Yeah.
And your team was so gracious, and here we are today. But this was of my own volition because of our audience, because you guys need to know about this amazing work, which I will just give a shout out to Holly, who's here with us today, who introduced me to your work, an old amazing friend of mine who really has benefited from Primal Trust and nervous system healing, brain retraining. So tell us a little bit about it, because I have a feeling so many people here either have heard of it and have tried it or have no idea what we're talking about. So we need to tell them.
Well, you know, as you're listening, you're probably like, well, how did she heal and what's the steps and all of the things? And we're speaking about very intangible things right now.
I know.
So how do you do that? Well, the good news is I created a path. I created a program and a protocol to walk people through the steps that do take you through the science and the practices and the tools. But I also know that it's going to take you through a journey of opening and allowing unconscious things to be processed in a safe, titrated way, ultimately leading you home to your true self, to a connection that is very sacred and special. And for some, that is a spiritual journey, and for others, it's not. It doesn't need to be a spiritual journey, but it's a journey nonetheless of self-love, of self-compassion, of authenticity, of imperturbability, of courage. And I have this background being a physical therapist, and so I understand protocols. Like, if you have a shoulder surgery, I know, what to start with and what to do 6 weeks later. Well, I started thinking about the nervous system and trauma in the terms of a protocol, a sequence, and I tested, several hundreds of people through different sequences to see what works to unlock their nervous system to help their symptoms to both subside, but also address the underlying alarm bells and repair the identity, the resonance of their body. And over time, I put together a full journey, a sequence from beginning to end of learning the basics of the nervous system to the advanced practices of trauma healing, inner work, shadow work, in a way that the nervous system can process and handle. And so I've done the work for those that are on the journey that are wanting to walk this path with me.
Amazing. And what does that look like? Because I've started Primal Trust. I mean, you know this. That's when I first reached out to you. And I'm a very extreme person. I'm very all or nothing. Yeah. And I did so much of it in one weekend, even though I know you kind of like so pace it out to tell people exactly don't do that. But I always do stuff like that. Yeah. And so I did. And then, I mean, I have 2 little kids. I'm writing a book. I got wrapped up. And so I need to get back into it. Yeah. But what does this look like for people who are wondering? Does this take years? Does this take months? Like, what does it really look like?
Good question. It really depends on your personality and on your time. But at the very least, I would say you want to dedicate, 15 minutes to 30 minutes a day at minimum, where you are learning how to regulate your nervous system and you're practicing it. So basically, you're attending to the needs of your own nervous system. You're saying, you know what? This underlying unconscious alarm that's been going off in my body for years matters. And just like a crying baby, I'm going to attend to that crying baby for a little bit of time each day. And it means that you're going to learn different tools that your own little nervous system, the crying baby, responds to. Some of these tools might be working on your vagus nerve, some on your limbic system or your brain, some on your somatic system, which is like movement and awareness practices. Sometimes there's emotional processing and inquiry and journaling and things like that. But it's a little bit every day. I matter. My nervous system matters. Attending to all of these suppressed, unconscious emotions that have been driving my nervous system matters. And I know, and in this knowingness of this is going to affect my very real infection, my very real toxicity, my very real autoimmune condition, because all of these conditions they have a common denominator, and that is that they are fed by the autonomic nervous system. And we have such a huge capacity to attend to that nervous system and literally change our metabolic function, our cellular expression in minutes. And so by attending at the very least 15 to 30 minutes a day, and maybe if you're really ill, an hour a day or more, you are changing the way your neurobiological circuitry is signaling, meaning you are sending different hormones, different neuropeptides, different chemicals through your body. It's going to change your digestion, your immune function, your endocrine function in a very short time. And now you might not notice a full change in your illness right away. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can actually feel worse before better. Mm-hmm. We can talk about that. But in a few minutes, you can change your biochemistry. And if you string those few minutes together every day, your body becomes less hospitable for infection. Mm-hmm. It becomes more of a channel to discharge toxins and to digest your food. And so I would say, I like to tell people, try to do this for 6 months, where you are dedicating a complete reroute in your neurocircuitry, in your autonomic nervous system, in the way your brain is reacting to your body and to the world. And if you can give that dedication in 6 months, you will absolutely reap the benefits. Our research actually shows 2 to 3 months makes significant change. With Lyme disease, our research shows that within 3 months, people have an average of 51% gain of function in 3 months with Primal Trust. That's a huge gain. If you've had the chronic Lyme, 50% gain of function. It's so worth it.
It's crazy.
It's so worth it.
I mean, it's crazy in a good way.
Yeah.
So this is why you're speaking at a Lyme conference today.
Yeah, today.
And I do want to get back to the whole like worse before better thing. But before we do, I really love that the Lyme community is open to this work. Like, was this, well, I don't know what conference this is or who it's put on by, but when I was like deeply immersed in the Lyme world, there were no conversations about this, and having a conversation like this was extremely controversial. Yeah. So do you think that the Lyme community has come a long way?
I think that, and I'll speak about this, we are reframing what chronic Lyme disease is from a pathogenic infection to a neuroimmune systemic ongoing alarm bell that's keeping the system from completing an infection healing cycle and all sorts of other tricky things to talk about. But
because some people say chronic Lyme doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
I mean, those of us who have lived it, we know it exists. But there's a lot of confusion around it in general.
Absolutely. It is a systemic issue. It's not just about the pathogen. It's how your body responded to the pathogen. And how your body responds to the pathogen has a lot to do with how you respond to triggering situations, to trauma, to life disruptions. It's how your autonomic nervous system can get a signal of threat and then be able to switch into a signal of safety. How easy is that for you? That's going to be your predicting pattern of your likelihood of going into chronic Lyme, which doesn't mean that the bacteria doesn't exist. It means that your body doesn't have the capacity to take care of it because of the way that it's responding to all sorts of other messages and signals that are going on in the body at the same time.
Totally. So do you think the Lyme world, have you seen the shift over the last 5 years?
5 years, for sure. That's exactly it. I'd say, I mean, we just started a free practitioner training program in Primal Trust, and the amount of Lyme doctors in there are, I mean, it's been 6 months and we have almost 2,000 practitioners in this program.
God.
So, and these are medical doctors, you have to have a license to do this. And they are in it. They see it. They're like, okay, your protocols are working alongside ours. How do we combine nervous system work with
that they're
Lyme?
into this? I mean, I'm not shocked. I'm so happy because I'm flashing back to having the opposite experience just 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And nobody even mentioned my nervous system for that
decade. And
anyone
anyone who did, I was like, what are you talking about? Because I was like, no, I'm way too sick for that. We need something real and tangible. But some people did get it, but they were not, in my experience, they were not the Lyme specialists.
No.
They were the functional medicine doctors, the Chinese medicine doctors, the shamanic healers. Those were the people who would bring that up.
Totally.
I actually had a functional medicine doctor tell me when I was at my sickest, and I had stopped seeing my Lyme specialist and started seeing her. She said, we may never see Lyme out of your system. Maybe we will. But we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on how you feel every day. And if you go to the ocean every day and put your feet in the sand and the water, you will heal. And I was looking at her like, what? This is just, I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
Like I could barely, I was about to get married and I could barely walk. So I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I did start going to the beach every day and putting my feet in the sand in the ocean. And I did start to heal. And it wasn't just that. I mean, I was doing so many things and it's just a beautiful mystery out there. So I do want to talk about the whole getting worse before you get better thing, because in the Lyme world, we would call that herxing, the Herxheimer. Is that what you would call it too? Or is it different with the nervous system work?
It's a little different. It can be herxing, but the way the nervous system is set up, you want to think of the nervous system as this bucket of stress, or it's not a bucket of stress. It will take your stress and it gets stored in the body in the form of neuropeptides, all your trauma, all your stress. Literally, that energy is in the body. And when the nervous system is in a chronic stress response, and you don't even feel stressed when it's in a chronic stress response because your cells get so used to that amount of cortisol and adrenaline that they change the receptors. And so you feel fine. You actually feel kind of numb fine. And people are like, I'm not stressed. I just have these other symptoms. You're stressed. You've just gotten accustomed to it. Anyway, the point is that you have a lot of energy suppressed in your body of the trauma, of emotions, of alarm, of all of these things. Your body is not able to fully deal with all of the other infections, the toxins, the lining of your tissues kind of gets damaged a little bit when you're dealing with this chronic inflammation. When you start to change your nervous system signaling, you're going to have a change in cortisol and adrenaline and other types of stress hormones. That is going to change what your body does, and it doesn't feel good initially. If you think of pain relievers, hydrocortisone, cortisone shots, those things all are there to help calm things down. When cortisol drops, pain will increase because you have less cortisol in your system to help with the pain.
That makes sense.
When cortisol and adrenaline drops, your immune system will start to come online a little bit more, and it might feel like the flu because the body's like, hey, let's clean up. We've got some spaciousness in the nervous system to clean up. So you might feel flu-like. You might also start to discharge the energy that has been stuck in your body in the form of emotions, of different neuropeptides, and toxins. So emotions and toxins go hand in hand. So if you start calming down, you might start feeling toxic. You might start feeling really yuck because your body is actually trying to move it out of you. Now, the problem is that that's when people freak out and they freeze, and then they trap the toxins that were trying to come out. And now they're like circulating through your bloodstream instead of being stored in the fat in your cells. And then you can get even more sick. So if you're on the healing journey and you start doing things that you know are good for you, that should be good for you, and you're feeling like crap, don't freak out, because that is the time to surrender, go put your feet in the water, and let those toxins continue to flow through your system so they don't get stuck and going recirculating through your bloodstream. They need to be eliminated. So this is the time to try to do the saunas, the walking on the beach, the swimming, and all of those things so that you can get through that bumpy ride, that hump in the road, in the quickest amount of time. It's also the time where we start to discharge a lot of old memories. So you might actually start having emotional flooding, nightmares, memory coming back. That's what happened with me. My childhood stuff came back about 6 months into brain retraining, like all of it, like, oh, there it is. That's what set off the alarm bells that never stopped. I see that now. So these things have to be dealt with. And people need to understand that, healing is not linear, and it doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong. You are on the right path. You are making changes, and your biochemistry is shifting. Even when the body has to like rebuild tissue that's been worn down from so much inflammation, that's going to cause swelling. It's going to cause all sorts of things because the body's sending new tissue to be laid down in areas that were damaged from all the inflammation. And so we get a lot of achy joints and like bloating and swelling and all the things. And it can absolutely be part of the healing process. How do you know? How have you been living? Have you been living in a more aligned way? Have you been doing things that you know should be serving you? Are you eating better? Are you taking care of yourself and now you're feeling like crap? It's a healing response. If you're doing things that are bad for you and you're really stressed and all of that and you feel like crap, it's probably getting worse. That's how you'd know the difference.
Totally. Wow, that makes so much sense. And I've had that so many times. And I'm almost in one of those seasons right now because I started taking peptides. And they've been amazing for me, like just incredible, life-changing. And I was at a stage in my journey where it was a good time to introduce some new things like that. And they just worked. And intuitively, I knew they would. And that kind of like chemistry that happens when you hear of something and it's going to help you, which is why I say the placebo effect can also be real. But so much of that, I feel that all of the lingering toxins, which I knew I had, and then I've had 2 babies since healing from Lyme, so a lot of postpartum inflammation, and I had a C-section and a really, really, really traumatic pregnancy where I almost died and all these things. Obviously, all of those toxins and memories and everything are now like flooding my system because the peptides are super anti-inflammatory and I've lost quite a bit of weight. I was very postpartum and inflamed. And on the one hand, I feel amazing because I'm like, yay, energy again. And on the other hand, I'm like, I need to live in a sauna and on a vibration plate and like lay in bed for forever because this is a lot. And thankfully, I'm many years into my healing journey, so I trust the process. And I'm one of those weird people who likes to be healing, which probably I should figure out because I also need to get through that hump. But I like doing all the self-care things and the spa things and just living a very chill life. Anyways, I know that I'm herxing, and I'm also helping a lot of other people through the peptide journey right now as a health coach because I just love what it can do for people, and everybody's herxing. Everybody on my watch, and I'm like, oh my God, we all need to just take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
take extra care, but know that it's probably working. I'm super curious in your spiritual practices because I can literally tell by looking at you that you are a spiritual person. And I see that. I see that in your aura. What are your spiritual practices beyond the methodologies?
Yeah, and this has been such an important part of my journey. I'll say that I was raised a very traditional Christian, and then I went to a Christian college. I actually ended up becoming Mormon, and I got married into that.
Oh, wow.
And then that's when I really got sick.
Oh my God.
And a part of my journey of healing was to be honest about my spiritual trajectory. And part of what I had to do was leave my religion, which meant I lost my community, my marriage, my family, all of it.
No way.
Yeah. So
oh my gosh.
8 years ago, that leap of faith was required for my next level of evolution. And my healing skyrocketed because I got out of what I would call the program of felt like I needed to earn my worth, even though they say that's not what it is. It was very much programmed into me, and into finding inherent worth and finding a new way to relate to these archetypes that were introduced to me, spiritual figures. I would say that I have a practice now where it is about being still and seeing it all as God and allowing it all, including the triggers and the things that I'm dealing with. The way I had to relate to my symptoms was a big aspect of my relationship with God, because I had this sense of I must be doing something bad or I wouldn't be sick. Must not be worthy because he's not healing me.
Yeah.
And I had to reroute what God was to me, and I had to reroute what my symptoms meant to me, because I thought they meant bad. If they're there, they're bad. I didn't know how to allow them to be there and to feel like a worthy person if I was having symptoms and infection.
Exactly.
And I didn't know how to be a worthy person in the eyes of God. And I eventually had to create a relationship with my symptoms these are allowed to be here, and I'm worthy with these flaws, which attuned me to a different type of spiritual relationship, that maybe God is already with me fully, even with my flaws. And that's when inherent worth started to be birthed. Thankfully, through this process of learning to relate to my symptoms differently. And so now I still have a sacred relationship with Christ, and I have relationships with Mary and Mary Magdalene and other figures that are very precious to me. And God, I see in everything, everyone, and love permeates irregardless of what we're doing, what we're saying, what we're thinking, what we're believing. It is there.
Totally.
Love is there. We cannot be separate from it. And so my spiritual practice is remembering that interconnectedness, that God, love, source is always in me at every moment, regardless if I just happen to lose my temper with my kids or if I've just served somebody beautifully. In that moment, light exists either way, and I'm part of it, and I'm loved, and that allows me to be still with whatever is happening. It allows me to that practice of equanimity, of seeing that everyone is just trying the best they can, and we all are suffering, and we're all trying. And my ability to get beyond triggers, my ability to let go, is based on this different relationship that I have with the divine, with love, with God, with Christ, with all of those things, because I've been able to reroute what it means to have something bad happening, or what it means that I've just done something bad. I love that I can sit and be still and feel the spark is always with me, no matter what. And that's not something I had. And that's something that my symptoms taught me how to do, because I had to be with them no matter what.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I love that. And I relate so much, truly. I did not come from a religious background per se. I mean, sort of, but not to the degree that you did, but to find my own relationship with God. I mean, I didn't even really believe in God before I got sick. Because I wasn't raised super religious. I am Jewish, but it was way more like of a cultural community thing than like really truly believing in God for me. And after getting sick and healing, I very much believe in God, just a different maybe type of God than the religious one, but it's going through all of us. It's everything. It's everywhere. It's us. It's our higher self. It's everything. Yeah. So beautiful. And on that note, because I could talk to you forever, and I actually wish that we could. I wish we had more time. Yeah. Tell us where everyone can find you and where they can find your work.
Yeah. So my website is primaltrust.org. You can go there. I have a free resources section where I wrote a book that's free that you can download that gives you a lot of the science and understanding. But I also have my membership there. It's $96 a month. That includes everything. We have live classes every day. I show up live all the time. So that's one place. In Instagram, we also have a lot of free information on Instagram and YouTube. Primal Trust _official on Instagram and just Primal Trust official on YouTube. I share a lot of this knowledge, and I'd love to have anybody join.
Yay. Well, I'm sure you'll have a lot of people who are interested because we're super into this stuff. Yeah. Thank you so much. This was incredible. I'm so thankful.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
So amazing. And thank you for the work that you're doing.